The interesting thing of Rwanda is that really the government is really pushing the drive towards the cashless society. And you can see here that the market has really adopted mobile money accounts. So in terms of mobile money remittances, digital remittances, as WorldRemit, we are positioned as the leader in sending remittances to mobile money accounts. And the 90% you were talking about, actually, 90% of our transactions are being sent to those mobile money accounts in Rwanda.
All right. Now, another thing very interesting there is that we do see remittances still growing in the African economy. Just about the other year, we saw Kenya getting up to $1.7 billion in remittances, Uganda about $1 billion as well. How much do remittances contribute or account for the GDP of the country?
Yes, also what's really interesting is that remittance flows are much more important than the flows of foreign aid or foreign development investment. And so if you look at the remittance flows, in Rwanda, it accounts for 2.5% of the GDP of the country.
All right.
So it's really meaningful for the people, meaning that they can benefit from the remittances. They can then use it to pay for school fees, for medical care, or they can reinvest it in the business, in the economy of the country.
All right. That sounds very interesting when you say 2.5% to the GDP. Now, one quick question that one would always ask is, why exactly is sending money to or move money across African states is still that much expensive? Now, when you look back to the data from the World Bank of 2017, it does highlight that about to send $200, you have to be charged at about $9+ for just $200, and that is very high in relative to any other region in the world. So why exactly is it that much expensive, yet governments and regulators do understand the need for remittance?
Well, there's a lot of explanations, but the major reason would be, for me, the lack of competition. So I think we need to also drive customers towards more digital services. And as WorldRemit, our biggest market when sending remittances is Africa, and we've been driving the cost of remittances down, and now we're looking at even bringing it further by launching intra-regional remittance services.
All right. Now, we do know that remittances are forecasted to hit about $39.2 billion this year and about $39.6 billion in 2019. How is WorldRemit positioning itself in quite a growing market?
Yes, it's a growing market. We're clearly positioned as the leader of remittances being sent to mobile money accounts. Today we cover 74% of remittances being sent to mobile money accounts. We're sending from 50 countries and towards more than 150 countries across the globe. And Africa today represents 50% of our market.
All right. Now, you do mention that you say 57%?
50%.
50% of WorldRemit's market is in Africa. And that pretty much brings me to my next conversation, and that has to do with the work that you're doing in Rwanda. We did see that you are working with the UNHCR and working on some projects in camps in Rwanda, mentioning the Gihembe to reach more unbanked people. So give me a conversation around that.
Yeah, so this project with the Djembe refugee camp is about promoting digital remittances because people living in the camp really rely on their family members living abroad that are sending them remittances. But people today, they receive remittances more in a traditional way, through cash, and they use Western Union to withdraw cash. But receiving the money directly on their mobile phone accounts, on their mobile money accounts through WorldRemit, allows them to save money and time because they can use the money straight away from their phone. And the extra dollar that they get means a lot for them, that they can then they can then pay for extra food or water. It's also a nice way to secure the remittance that they receive on the mobile account.
Right. Now, we did see numbers there on the remittances drop at least between 2015 and 2016. And if you look at it from a European case, they would say that oil, rather weaker growth was pretty much the conversation in the US, so much on the back of oil and, development. But in Africa, they say that it was so much on the back of people having to send money across borders using buses or friends. So when do you see people actually picking up on the idea of sending money across borders using the likes of WorldRemit? When do we see sending money across borders digitized? Because that's the case you're making today.
Yes, this is what we're trying to do. So today, the remittance industry is mainly cash to cash, very cash based. 90% of the remittances are based on cash. If you look at the projections from the World Bank, this in 4 or 5 years, this will move to 60% being done online. So players like WorldRemit that are also in that field of digitizing the whole process is also leading the path. And so with our objective of also opening corridors, intra-regional corridors in Africa, it would be much easier for people to then send cross-border remittances without having to travel to the nearest agent to deposit cash or go into queues.